Hello chess friends and welcome to Out of Chess channel and welcome to an incredible game of the Computer Bullet Chess Championship in 2022. We have here Stockfish 15 versus Minic in a beautiful sharp tactical battle in the modern defense. And before we start to analyze the game, I wanted to talk about the Bullet Chess Championship itself more a little bit because you asked me many questions: where to find this event, how to download PGNs, what should I do in order to maybe follow this website, what's the big deal about this chess computer bullet chess championship and more. So first of all, what I would recommend you is to go on chess.com, then to search for the computer bullet chess championship, and I will show you the link of this beautiful chess event in the description below. So you just click it and then you jump to this beautiful chess events. You see, when you are on the website, then you should search for previous tournaments. You have really many tournaments. You see, we have here Stockfish testing, computer chess championship season 17 bullet finals and similar stuff. So you have many great events, and the previous games that we have analyzed were some games from the computer bullet chess championship main event. You see now here this event, main event, 1 minute on the clock plus 1 second increment per move. And now the current tournament that's going on is now the bullet chess championship semi-finals. So you just click on it and you have here the schedule. You can really scroll up and you can see many games that have been played already. You just click on it and then you download the PGN. It's, I think, very easy. When it comes to the current standings of this beautiful chess event, then you see that Stockfish is in the lead. Stockfish has 2.5 points more than Lila C0 out of the first 96 games. You see now many games still that have been will be played in this super event. So I think you can download thousands PGNs if you're of course interested more into this computer chess war. So also, what are, I think, very important chess websites about computer chess is the computer the TCEC official website and also the CCR Chessdom website. These three websites, so the chess.com official computer chess championship, the TCEC competitions, and the CCR Chessdom website, I think are the most important sites about the computer chess. So all of the links to this beautiful websites will be shown in the description below. Please have fun and you can, I think, have also great improvement of your own chess game. So let's see now this beautiful sharp tactical battle as promised. So we have here Stockfish versus Minic in a beautiful sharp tactical battle in the modern defense. So be prepared. This is again sick brutal chess by Stockfish with really some wild tactical sequences that I think no one would dare to play, or at least no one could even calculate in any ways, because the calculations of Stockfish are really wild. Be prepared. This is again sick brutal chess from another dimension. So let's see now the game. Stockfish opened with the move e4. We have now the move d6 by Minic. We have d4 so far, the Pert's defense, and after move g6, knight to c3, bishop to g7. Stockfish goes into the so-called 150 attack with bishop to e3, queen to d2 ideas. He's trying to trade off the bishops on h6 and he's trying to launch the flank attack h4 h5 and similar stuff. We have talked about the 150 attack many times on my YouTube chess channel. You have a whole playlist on my channel how to beat the Perts or modern defense with the white pieces in the 150 attack. Here's the link of our beautiful playlist. Check it out and maybe you could have a great preparation also against these types of structures. So in the continuation, Minic goes with knight to d7, queen to d2. We have now b6, double fianchetto style, knight to f3, bishop to b7, and after move h3, we have now the move a6, a4, preventing in some occasions also the move b5, and now after move h6, we have here really this weird but in many occasions even effective pawn structure here with the move e6 by Minic, because the main idea to play this game like this is it's not a brilliant idea. I think it's not good what black is doing here, of course, but it was just a line that was prearranged by the organizer. But the main goal of the structure is basically black is waiting white to make a reaction in the center. For instance, if white makes something like d5, then of course we can always break with the position in with the move e5 and we can lock the center, and then we have a blocked out pawn structure. The same happens, for instance, in some occasions if you play e5. Of course, e5 is not an opportunity anymore, but if you could just imagine maybe the move e5 in different ways, maybe white supports the e5 further, then you can again pass through with the move d5, and now you have again a blocked locked out pawn structure in the center. So that's the main goal about this types of structures that black is preparing here. But you see now what Stockfish will do to this dubious opening line. Stockfish will dismantle it, destroy it really in a brutal way. So here Stockfish goes first of all kingside castling, securing the king, and you see now white has finished the development, has developed all of the minor pieces, has secured the king by castling, has removed the queen from the first rank, which is of course a very important stage of the opening, connecting rook. So now Stockfish has built an attacking formation, is now searching of course to launch a sharp brutal attack. So knight to e7, we have now knight to e2, and now comes already a critical moment of the game. Here the Minic engine plays the move f5. You have a certain space advantage here. You can of course challenge here the pawn on e4, but Stockfish reacts now really in a brutal way, plays now the move knight to f4, and of course the steer strat is the move knight to e6, hitting the queen and also hitting the bishop on g7. What Minic does is plays first move knight to f8, controls both of these weaknesses, the weak g6 pawn and also the weak e6 pawn, but now Stockfish goes e takes f5. And let's see now what happens if you play knight to f5. If you play knight to f5, this wasn't played in the game. Of course, we want to see also what's going on in this particular line. In the game, Minic took bishop to f3, but let's see now what happens if you play knight to f5. If you play knight to f5, this is simply brutal what Stockfish has prepared already here in the game. So now white is playing the move queen to e2, and this move is doing two things. First of all, what the move is doing is of course creates a direct attack against the queen, against the king. If something clears on the e file, then of course the king could be in danger. The other thing that this move is doing is of course it doesn't allow here black to castle on the queen side. If you do that, then we have a double attack against the pawn on a6. So now if you castle, the rook is on, of course on d8, and then we can pick up the pawn, we can launch a flank attack further with the move a5, and black is not going to castle on the queen side because black is getting destroyed. So now you could maybe prepare queenside castling, but now after move rook to e1, as we said, you cannot play this move because we'll pick up the a6 pawn immediately. Now for instance you try g5, but look what happens. There is this monstrous tactical shot. As I said, this wasn't played in the game, but you get destroyed with this beautiful move, knight to e6. For instance, if you play here knight to e6, of course your knight is hanging on f5, so that's why you would be forced to pick up with the queen. But now d5, and d5 seems strange, but what are you doing? Why are you giving up another pawn? It's very important to get our bishop here liberated, because after move d5, of course bishop to d5 you have to play. Now even c4, we kick away the bishop again. After bishop to b7, now we pick up the knight, bishop to f5, and after queen to f5, look at this, bishop to d4 hits the king, hits the bishop on g7. There is now even a wild way for black to maybe defend with knight to e6, but now you should not pick up here this one, because bishop to f3 could happen. Maybe you could have some problems, so that's why you want to first play queen to e6. Look at this, after queen to e6, rook to e6. This is really just a wild calculation at my that I used of course with my Stockfish engine at home. If you play rook to e6, okay, here you have to play king to d7, but now the fun starts after we play rook to e1. We include this other rook into the game. We give up here even the bishop on d4, but now we pick up play first the check here. After a couple of checks, we can also pick up now finally the bishop, and we have a much better activity. So you cannot of course even play king to c5. You get this one, rook to c7. You can pick it up, but now also rook to b7, or first maybe even more accurate here is after king to d4. First you play check here, deflect the knight from the defense, and now we just pick up the bishop here. So really already messed up game. You see, you cannot pick up the pawn with the move knight to f5 because you're getting destroyed on the e file. That's, I think, the downside about the sequence. So let's go back. After move e takes the e takes f5, I really had to show this line. It's of course just a long pervert line that Stockfish has prepared, but I was really curious, why is black not taking the pawn out on f5? So here in the continuation, Minic plays bishop to f3, picks up first the knight on f3, is hoping that Stockfish creates here a weird pawn structure on the f-file. It hopes that Stockfish creates really messed up pawn structure, double pawn structure, but Stockfish ignores this move, plays now a stunning move, f takes g6, and this is again really pervert what Stockfish is doing, because in the game e5 was played by Minic, but let's see now if you just escape, if you just retreat to b7 here, if you hope for the best, you say I grab my piece, now I get get back, I will secure my king and I will win the game. No, when you're playing against Stockfish, you probably took the wrong piece, because here, if you go with this move, if you retreat with the bishop on b7, now look what happens. Knight to h5 hits the bishop on g7. You could maybe protect the bishop because the bishop doesn't have good squares. You could maybe protect the bishop with rook to g8, but look at this, bishop to h6, and after bishop to h6, knight to f6 could even lead into checkmate sequence. Look at this, with the knight and with the pawn, you're delivering checkmate. So it's also one of the cool tactics that could have happened. Of course, in the game it didn't happen, but I really was curious what's going on if you retreat. Now knight to h5, really devastating. It's a lost game for black. So in the continuation, as we said, instead of this move bishop to b7, Minic goes with the move e5, hits the knight. Stockfish simply takes, d takes e5, and again we have a new tactical problem in the game, because actually you cannot pick up here the pawn with the pawn. You cannot play d takes e5. You would love, of course, to play that. It would give you extra time, maybe to when white reacts with the knight, maybe to escape with the bishop, but it's not possible because you get this one. Look how already brutal this game is. With queen to c3, again we're threatening to pick up the bishop on g7. You could now try again maybe to retreat with the knight, but now look at this, rook to d1 happens, of course, discovered attack against the queen. The queen has to step back, and now you play queen to c4. We are threatening some nasty threats around the square f7. You cannot pick up, of course, the g6 pawn. It's twice protected by the bishop and the knight. So what you could do is, after move queen to c3, you could play, of course, e takes f4. You could maybe play this kind of a line, but now after queen to g7, maybe rook to g8, you can play, of course, now queen to the f7, and after king to d7, there is now even this tactic, rook to d1. You just sacrifice one rook, but you want to bring another rook here in the game. Now even bishop to f5 is possible. You can step back. Now we play bishop to e4. You are maybe trying to cover, but look at this. Now finally rook to d1. You're getting destroyed on light squares. This rook is far away from the action. Of course, in a couple of moves probably it will be taken, but look at this, with this beautiful bishop's activity. It's even here a forced checkmate sequence. My Stockfish engine at home says it's forced checkmate in 10. Really wild stuff. So see, the problem is now you cannot take with the pawn. We have to, I think, solve all of this tactical problems in the game, because probably you ask yourself the question, what would have happened if black plays like this? So as I said, this is not possible. So that's why after d takes e5, we have bishop to e5, and now g7 here by Stockfish, deflecting again the bishop after bishop to g7. Now finally g takes f3, but now it's a different story. We have created really many structural weaknesses in front of the king, especially on light squares. You look at this, black gave up the light square bishop, has now many problems in the game. Okay, we have to say it also, it's nothing spectacular also for white. White still has also endangered king. You have to make something with your king, but I think from this point on the game is really a one-way ticket. So in the continuation, bishop to e5 played by Minic. Stockfish plays a strange but effective move, rook to e1, because after a couple of moves, look at this, Stockfish simply escapes towards the queen side. Really wild stuff. First the king is now in the center of the board, now played king to f1, now king to e2, is trying to play even king to d1. Really sick, brutal chess here by Stockfish 15. So here Minic grabs one pawn, it doesn't matter. Stockfish first secures the king. We have now knight to e6, and now bishop to g3. We have king to d7, and now bishop to c4. In this open tactical battles, of course, the bishop is much more effective. I think, of course, that I would love to play more this game from white's perspective. Although black has regrouped, black has maybe brought this knight into the defense, but look at this. This crossroads bishops are really dangerous. It's open fire now against black's king. So in the continuation, rook to g6. Now a beautiful rook played by Stockfish. Not that this rook is only maybe defending the king, it also creates further attacking possibilities with maybe some batteries on the e file, with ideas of rook to c3, rook to d3, maybe targeting the d6 weakness. So many again tactical threats here by white. So knight to f5, hitting the bishop on g3. We have now queen to d5, hits of course the rook, hits of course also this weak pawn on the weak knight on e6. So that's why Minic has to play a rook to e8. But now bishop to a6, this pawn is hanging. We have here c6 by Minic, and now comes a new stunner. Really sick, brutal move here by Stockfish. Bishop to b5. is now creating again new weaknesses in the position, because you have to react. You cannot pick up the queen because of the bishop's activity, but now after c takes b5, the queen is coming into the game really effectively. When the knight has to step back, has to cover now the king, but now after rook to e8, the king gets actually deflected from the defense of the knight. Queen takes e8, now a check. Look at this, the knight is standing in the way, the knight is covering this diagonal, so now even this check is possible. And what Stockfish does is of course brilliant. You don't want to pick up the knight like this because you lose the tempo. You're not delivering, you don't take out the knight with a tempo against the king, you don't deliver check. That's now the main issue. So that's why first the check, when the king moves to the 7th rank, now you pick up the knight. The king has to step back, and now we're playing again. Now it's again our move, and it's a different story because now the rook is coming into the defense. Look at this, this pawn is weak, it's hit now 3 times by the queen, by the bishop, and by the rook. Really strange setup. So here Bx a4 was played by Minic, and now king to d2. Here Stockfish slows down the pace of the game, secures even the king on a beautiful square here on d2. So here the continuation, rook takes g3 was played, a desperate try here for Minic to make something in this position. You cannot of course pick up with this piece because you're getting destroyed here with this rook and queen activity. So that's why Minic tried to simplify the game by maybe getting rid of at least one piece on the board. But now first a check, we have king to f6, queen to f8. After a couple of checks here, we have again a perpetual, but now f takes g3, queen to g3, and now Stockfish grabs the pawn on a4. And okay, maybe you wonder what's going on. Maybe black can do something with this passer on the h file, but actually it's not working because still the rook activity is perfectly fine. The queen is very active. There are many weaknesses. This pawn is weak, this pawn is weak, so it's simply not working here for black. So h5, Minic tried to push the pawn. Stockfish simply plays f4, attacks the queen, queen to f2, a couple of checks by Minic, but again nothing spectacular because Stockfish has now this defensive resource. Plays simply king to b2, secures the king even on a better square. We have now queen to g2, and now queen to c7, trying of course to target this d6 but also the weak b6 pawn. So if you play here h3 immediately, then you get queen to c3, you get a check, and then you lose the pawn. So this advance of the pawn is simply also not working. So in the continuation, we have a queen to f2. We have now a check by Stockfish, king to f7, queen to g5, attacking the knight, knight to e3. Now again a check. Now rook to c3, trying to get this rook into the game. Look at this, how beautiful this move, queen to h5 was. It's covering of course the weak d1 square. It's not a threat anymore, the fork on d1. So that's why queen to f4. We have now this idea, queen to e2 is of course pinning the knight, and now Minic tried the last tactical sequence, played a couple of checks, but now after this last check nothing was possible anymore. The game is over. Here Minic tried this move, queen to b3, but after c takes b3 and queen to e3, the game was basically over. Okay, the game was prolonged for a little bit more, but obviously this is completely winning here for white. So incredible game, I think, by Stockfish. Really brutal tactical ideas in the beginning. As I said, really wild, and I'm not sure how many of us wouldn't consider many of these moves. It's really different how Stockfish is playing the game. Incredible performance again by the fish, and I hope really that you enjoyed the game because this was really spectacular. So okay, if you want to see more games like this, check out my common chess games played by computer series with some more Stockfish 15, Alpha 0, Lila 0, Dragon Engine, Top Engine games. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.